Big Trouble in Little China is a 1986 released action-adventure directed by John Carpenter.
Trucker Jack Burton gets mixed up in sorcery and mysticism in San Francisco's Chinatown after his friend's fiancée is kidnapped on arrival at the airport. At the centre of all this strangeness appears to be Lo Pan, who is either a 7-foot sorcerer or a decrepit old man in a wheelchair. Whichever it is, Jack is determined to get to the bottom of it and get back his stolen truck, and, well, maybe the girl as well if he can.
Yeah, so welcome to our new theme, new month, new theme. We're in August, we're in the summer, apparently, although it's very wet today. We are doing box office misses. So these are, well, films that came out in the summer, many moons ago, and perhaps weren't as successful as they were expected, or the directors and cast hoped. The filmmakers hoped, but, have maybe since gone on to either be cult classics. Every film, bad or good, people, there's always going to be someone out there who likes it. Just look at our review of My Son, What Have You Done? He wasn't so keen. No. I liked it. So, there's, films split opinions between people. They always have done. So, we're going to choose 4 films that weren't as successful as they should have been, and we are actually doing it in an order, and that order is
the lowest box office takings up to the highest. Could have gone by budget, but it made more sense as we're talking about box office misses to go to the lowest takings first. So Big Trouble had a budget, well, according to Wikipedia, it's between $19 and $25 million. The US box office, it only took $11 million, unfortunately. It's a bit more difficult to find out worldwide box office, so we're just going to base it on, first of all, US release date, because in the UK, Big Trouble didn't come out until November, I don't think. So, US release date and US box office as well. So, in the US domestic box office, it made about, less than half of its budget back. Obviously, after home video, I think it did find a second life on home video, like a lot of these films do. They get sort of rediscovered on video. Now Big Trouble, it's well loved.
It's kind of a typical cult film, isn't it? It's one that, I always kind of think that cult films, they're quite strange films that become well loved. But, specifically quite strange. Probably one of my favourite cult films is Repo Man, which itself is, it's a strange little film that has since found a huge love for it, and a lot of people love that film, and this film is certainly no different. This film is strange. It's campy, but it's so much fun, this film. You're a huge fan of this one.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I
remember you having this on VHS.
Yeah, it was one of the first VHSs we had, I think. Or when we first got a VHS player, somebody lent us like the big box. They must have been rich because they had like big box rental versions of these films because they weren't available to buy in normal shops yet. I think that and Crocodile Dundee, 2 quite early VHS memories for me. And when they were out to buy normally, we bought them. So no, I watched this a lot. And bought it on DVD and then twice on Blu-ray.
If I remember rightly, in your room, you had your videos here next to the door. Is that right? Is that right?
Possibly, yeah.
I'm sure that was it. And I always remember the cover. I just loved the cover.
Yeah.
It was just so... just colourful and big, and but I haven't seen it as many times as you. We're both big John Carpenter fans. My favourite is probably The Thing, and that's the film I have seen like loads and loads. And I haven't actually. I probably count the times I've seen this on like one hand. I really haven't seen it that often.
No,
but it's great fun, and every time I watch it, it's what's really great about this film is it just kind of rushes past. It's fast paced. I don't mean that in a bad way at all. It races through. It never really lets up. And I think that because I think if it went on for too long, you could probably start to see it's. I don't think it has any flaws, but it's so campy, this film.
Yeah.
Unlike what I find with John Carpenter. John Carpenter makes, I find, like classy B movies. The Thing, Halloween, The Fog. They are all quite. They're B movies at the heart of them, especially The Thing, which is a remake of a B movie. They're campy, but they're well shot. They look good. They feel mature. Whereas this one is a complete B movie. It's just a B movie and nothing else. And it's campy and it's over the top and it's silly and it's ridiculous. I suppose Escape from New York you could possibly fit in between the two. It's quite silly, that film. but it's also got, I suppose, there's bits of maybe the slightly more classy films he makes as well. I don't know. I mean, this to me feels more like it's more on a par with, say, Dark Star. You know, Dark Star being his first one, which was completely over the top, silly, but so much fun. And this one, clearly, it's so much fun, and they're having a lot of fun just making it. You know, Kurt Russell and Kim Cattrall and Dennis Dunn. You know, they're all the co-stars in it, all the extras and everyone. It just looked like they're having a huge amount of fun to make this over the top, completely nutso film. And it's really good fun.
I mean, I think one of the reasons it kind of faltered at the box office is because it is like a genre mashup where you've got sort of part kung fu movie, part adventure film, part comedy. I mean, critics didn't know what to make of it. I don't think it got some quite scathing reviews. Audiences didn't really know what to make of it. They didn't really know how to market it. I mean, I think the studio wanted something like Indiana Jones. You know, Indiana Jones has humour, but it's not the same kind of humour. And obviously, Indiana Jones is a proper hero, whereas Jack Burton isn't really. He thinks he's a hero, but he isn't.
He's kind of anti-hero.
He's completely inept. And Wang is really, Dennis Dunn's character is the true hero. He's got the moves. He knows what's going on, whereas Jack's just blundering around, not having a clue what was happening. And several times he says lines like, "Oh, I feel like a complete outsider," and he's like, "You are." And he goes on about experiencing unreasonable things, and he just hasn't got a clue what's going on and just stumbles through the film. And again, I think audiences or critics at least didn't really, and the studio just that didn't sit well with them, having your hero being a bit of a blundering idiot. They didn't know what to do with that, and they made the scene at the beginning with Egg and Jerry Hardin playing a lawyer. That was actually
was added on, wasn't it?
It was added on because they wanted, because in there Egg says, "Oh, leave Jack Burton alone. We owe him our a great debt. He's a hero." They just wanted something in there that acknowledged that Jack Burton was a hero, because without that, it doesn't he doesn't give that impression in the film. I think that's his charm. That's what's so great about it, because he's not your typical hero.
And it kind of makes him quite realistic as well, because obviously if you look at someone like Indiana Jones, he never really, I mean, he gets himself into a few scrapes along the way, but there's something, I mean, they're all comic book at heart, a lot of these kind of characters, but there's something, if I went into a situation like that, I probably would shoot out the ceiling and knock myself out, because I'm not, I can survive in my job.
Yeah.
And because I'm very good at my job, but if I was to go and save the day,
life-threatening situations.
Well, I don't know. Some of them, close, but no, I'm not. I wouldn't be that good.
Indiana Jones always manages to think his way out of a problem.
He does. That's true. I mean, obviously he's an archaeologist, and Jack Burton's just a truck driver.
Not just a truck driver.
Not just a truck driver.
He's a very good truck driver.
He's a very good truck driver. It brings a real kind of, and that's what's quite interesting, because although the film is kind of OTT and very silly at times,
he's a bit more of an everyman.
He's an everyman, and he brings a kind of earthy charm to it a little bit, and you believe in him, and does he get the girl? Maybe not.
Even that is a little bit different to the norm, isn't it?
Very different to the norm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can see why it maybe didn't, if you compare it to something like Raiders of the Lost Ark or the Indiana Jones films. Romancing the Stone was another one that came out. Was that 1984? I think that one came out.
I think
there were lots of these films. I mean, this one feels like, I was thinking it kind of feels like an adult Goonies. I mean, I know that Goonies is obviously a kind of a children's version of Indiana Jones itself, but Goonies has that kind of goofy fun, which this one has as well. And there's some interesting interview with Kurt Russell on the disc, where he talks about how they were doomed from the off. The studios hated it, and they weren't going to market it, and it was getting closer and closer to it being released. And Kurt Russell's like, why is there nothing about this anywhere?
No one's heard of it.
And he was like, it's kind of doomed from the off. And I was sitting there thinking, well, if they had marketed it, would it have been the success that they had hoped it would have been? And I don't know if it was, because it's still not quite.
It's just not mainstream enough, is it?
Not mainstream. It's too offbeat and too odd, and I'm sure it still would have had its following, definitely. But I don't know if it would have got to the heights. I mean, apparently it had some really good test screenings, and a lot of people seem to like it. But I still don't. I couldn't see it getting to the heights of something
No.
like Indiana Jones. They talk about it as though they hoped they were, John Carpenter made a film that everyone could enjoy, that would get bums on seats. But I don't know.
Everyone was just a bit confused by it, I think. Before its time.
A little bit before its time. Yeah,
Maybe,
yeah.
I don't know.
But, it's great fun. It's one of those films that I'm sure people don't like it, as with anything.
I mean, I think if, like us, if you grew up with it, you probably got more affection with it. If you've never seen it and you come into it now in 2021, you probably think, what is this weird little film? I don't know.
I don't know how younger people would think about this film now. And
my kids would probably say it was weird. So they say most things are weird. So it's just a real shame that it didn't find an audience when it was released. It's great that it has now, but it's a shame that it was kind of ignored at the time. It was also released a couple of weeks before Aliens, and that was getting massive hype.
Right, that's also a trouble with a lot of these films that we will cover. They came out, but a couple of weeks later, a much bigger film comes along, which kind of wins the hearts of the audience so much more. Well, another thing was great about this film, and I still haven't done it yet. And when I was watching it the other day, is because this is obviously full of kung fu, and it's very influenced, as John Carpenter has said himself. It's very inspired by a lot of the kung fu films before it. I've never been a kung fu film fan, and it's always a genre that I've always wanted to kind of sit down and delve into, never really knowing quite where to start with it, because there's so many of them. There are. I mean, I picked up a few months ago Iron Monkey on Eureka, which I watched. I saw the trailer and I was just like, "Whoa, that's crazy," and I absolutely adored it. It was completely like I was finding it quite, because I was watching all the the fight stuff.
Yeah,
it's very well kind of crazy choreographed fight scenes and very quick stuff. So I watched it for that. I need to go back and kind of watch it for the story, which I assume there is.
I mean, a lot of them have pretty weak stories, to be honest.
It's the fighting, isn't it?
Yeah, the story is just to get you from one fight to the next.
Exactly,
For a lot of them, and the stories are all quite similar. But what you're really there for is just the unbelievable stunts.
Fight scenes and stunts, exactly.
People like Jackie Chan just flinging themselves all over the place and breaking bones and stuff. I mean, Police Story is if you've never seen that, you've got to watch that. No, that's amazing.
I haven't seen that one, no.
Fantastic stuff in that. So no, it is. There's so many of them though. It is difficult to know where to start. I've got loads of Jackie Chan films. I'll have to lend you some.
Okay, well, if anyone else has any ideas on good places to start or good films to watch, then do let me know, because I'd love to check some out. So I couldn't watch a film like this and go, that's some great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great what you're watching, and obviously I love all the aerial stuff that they do. And then you've got, is it like Thunder, Lightning and Rain, the three characters?
Oh, they're great.
Which, are they like, because there's a bit more Mortal Kombat going on there, isn't there?
Well, yeah, I mean, they look a bit like Raiden, I suppose, don't they? But or Lightning in particular. I don't know. What, are they based in real sort of Chinese mysticism?
I mean, because I was reading that John Carpenter spoke about Chinese mysticism and sorcery, and obviously that's all that's in this film. But then I read a review talking about the film saying this was all very hokey and all kind of made up. So I don't know if there is anything. I mean, obviously, Pan is this character that he needs to meet a girl with green eyes to become real again, and which sounds like a good legend, but I don't know how much, if any of this is based in real Chinese legends and history.
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but you never know. I mean, it's like any sort of mythology, like Norse mythology, and there's so many different stories, isn't there?
Stories, exactly. And there's a kind of, although the film isn't about, well, it kind of is ghosts. I mean, ghosts. There's a lot of.
Well, he kind of is a ghost.
He is kind of.
Yeah. when he's sort of 7 foot tall, then he's like
floating.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, there's some stuff where because when he floats over to Mao Yin when she's lying down, and he puts his hand through her, he can't touch her. But then when Jack hits him with his truck, he hits him. He
does. Yeah, that's true.
Although Jack says, "Oh, it went straight through him." It was like, "We didn't. You hit him." But I mean, apparently Dennis done, because we talked about, you know, the sort of the flying through the air stuff. He does a lot of that. He didn't really know any martial arts, but you wouldn't know that watching the film.
Not at all.
And I think he'd done some as a child, but not a huge amount. But no, I mean, he holds his own against all these guys who you know, who obviously do know martial arts. So you wouldn't, you know, he does all the moves and he looks, you know, awesome, all while Jack's lying on the floor.
Yeah, some incredible stuff to look at. I mean, it's a real like visual feast, this film, and very colourful, and I think it's a great film, and it's got a great cast, and you know, I think the chemistry between Kim Cattrall and Kurt Russell is just so great here. Like I said, if the cast look like they're having a great fun time, which they speak about in the interviews, then it's pretty much a good thing that, you know, it's going to be a good fun watch as well. And yeah, this is a great fun watch.
And it's another one where John Carpenter did the score as well, so, which is great. Loads of synths and stuff. It's
a great score actually, and then you also get a theme song out of it, which is great too. Which also had a music video, which is on the disc. We should talk about the disc. So I think we both got it. You've got a better version.
I've got the Steelbook one.
I've just got the standard Blu-ray release, but I think they've both got, apart from you having a nice box.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the booklet in there, which is, you know, loads of stuff. I mean, that's the poster that was on the VHS, which is by a British artist named Brian Bysouth, and it, you know, I love it. It's great, but Kurt Russell doesn't really look like Kurt Russell. There's just something off about his face.
Yeah.
And I think in one of the extra, I think in an interview with Kurt Russell, he mentions that, doesn't he?
He does.
And I think he almost blames that for another reason why it faltered at the box office.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's obviously an alternate poster by Drew Struzan, which I mean, he's just a master. I mean, his posters are always just spot on. So I'm not sure whether this was used in a different territory or whether they had that, you know, this poster and then swapped it for that one. I don't know. Whatever poster it was, I don't think it would have made a lot of difference, to be honest, because it just it was just a combination of different factors that led to it not really making much impact at the box office, unfortunately. You know, the fact that, you know, it's been picked up by Arrow and released, you know, multiple times on all formats, and Shout Factory did another version a couple of years ago which had even more features. I mean, I think I had another couple of commentaries and had, you know, loads of interviews with other cast members. I mean, I was tempted to pick that up. I thought, no, I've already got it. I don't need more. Maybe there'll be a 4K release, but for the 35th anniversary, but that was this year, and I don't think there's any sign of it. But I mean, it could probably do with a remaster, because the transfer on this and the Shout one is the same that was on the original US disc that was Blu-ray that was released, I don't know, years ago, 10 years ago at least. Right. Which, you know, the picture is absolutely fine, but it could probably do with a remaster and make it look even sweeter. You know, it's definitely an enduring classic now, which at least it's finally found its audience.
So that was Big Trouble in Little China, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Hit the subscribe button up there, and don't forget to push the bell for notifications. There's other videos to check out over there. Come and find us on social media, and join us again next week for another video.